let's have some fun. Who do you think is going to be the next head coach of the Carolina Panthers?
I don't know, but two things to this. One is we had seen the first coach fired odds about a week ago, maybe a little less than that. It was after the Thursday night game between Denver and Indianapolis. And Nathaniel Hackett was the favorite at minus 200. And I remember we were sitting here thinking, like, that can't be right. It's got to be Matt Rhule, only because Hackett, this is his first year. So he's probably going to get at least one more year if things go south. And Rhule has just been on the hot seat. So going to the odds, we were basically in the right direction there. Matt Rhule at plus value was like taking candy from a baby at that point. I don't know who the next coach of the Panthers is going to be. But what I do think is, I do think the Nebraska Cornhuskers are probably eyeing Matt Rhule right now to come in and take over that program. And I don't hate it. I actually think that would be a pretty good match. Matt Rhule could get back into the college game, go to a pretty prestigious program. I know Baylor isn't like the prestigious football program, but they've been pretty good over the last decade or so.
I mean, Nebraska is an upgrade, I'd say.
Yeah, and so I was just going to say, and some might argue Nebraska's an upgrade based off their history, their tradition, and the fact that they sell out. They have the most consecutive sellout home games in college football. So I do think that Matt Rhule might find himself in Lincoln, Nebraska this time next year. We'll see what happens. I've heard a few names pop up, but as soon as Matt Rhule got fired, my first thought was he should be getting a call from the Nebraska Cornhuskers.
All right, I've got odds for both of these spots, by the way. Sean Payton, the favorite for the Panthers job at plus 350. I don't think he
He
comes
won't
out of
take it.
his retirement, quote unquote, for
He
that
won't.
job.
He won't take that, Tom. And this actually goes to Matt Rhule a little bit. He never really had a quarterback in Carolina. You need a quarterback to succeed in this league, and they went through Sam Darnold, Cam Newton, and Baker Mayfield. Now I know Matt Rhule has to get some wins, but like that's you got to give the guy a quarterback at least. And Sean Payton, I don't think will come out of retirement to take a job with no quarterback.
I'm going to rattle off some names here with some odds, and then afterwards we can give sort of our bold prediction coming out of these names. Dan Quinn, plus 450. Eagles offensive coordinator Shane Steichen at plus 500. I definitely just brutalized his last name. Cowboys offensive coordinator Kellen Moore at plus 650. You got interim head coach Steve Wilkes at plus 1,000. Commanders head coach Ron Rivera at plus 1,200. So we think maybe he gets fired after this year and comes home? I don't think so. Eagles defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon at plus 1,200. And then there's a few names here, blah, blah, blah. Raheem Morris, Leslie Frazier, Coastal Carolina's head coach is in the mix. But the name that I want to bring up that I like the most on this list, Dabo Swinney at plus 1,800. David Tepper has basically as much money as a human being can possibly have. I know Dabo Swinney's got as about a comfortable situation as you could want at Clemson, and he's going to be like the next Nick Saban of college football. But he's in state. That's a sexy hire. This is a man that likes to make a splash amongst the owners. That's a flex for sure if you can get Dabo to come in. I kind of that would be my favorite storyline if that happens. There's a few other names here too. Luke Fickle would be interesting. Eric Bieniemy finally getting a shot at plus 2,500. There's your Carolina Panthers odds list. Tom, what do you like?
So I think your best bets are probably Kellen Moore or either of the Eagles coordinators. I'd probably lean towards the defensive side just because their defense is, to me, much better than their offense. But those would be the three that I circle. I don't think you go college again. You just tried that with Matt Rhule. So I'm not sure you go after a college coach again. To Dabo, I'm not sure it would be a good fit for either Dabo or the Panthers because the Panthers just tried the college coach experiment, didn't work. It's not like college coaches have a great track record either coming into the NFL and succeeding. So I'm not sure I'd go down that route. The thing with Dabo is he's very much a non-NFL coach. He is a guy who yells at kids, gets in their face. Like he is very much a developer and not a professional coach, if that makes sense. I don't think the egos would clash well between Dabo and an NFL player. Like he almost has to stay at the level he's at to teach and coach kids. Like that's just his style to me. I think he would almost offend professional
You
athletes.
think he'd be like Urban Meyer?
I think. Well, I don't think he'd be kicking players, but I think he'd be verbally pissing them off a lot. And then Eric Bieniemy, he's had a lot of interviews and he hasn't gotten the job yet. So I think there's something there. And then we saw the Mahomes riff with him and Benemy at the Colts game. So I just think there's probably something there with Eric that the public don't know about yet. That's like maybe consistently not getting him jobs in these interviews. So based off everything you said, I just circle Kellen Moore, especially if Dallas with Cooper Rush is 4-1. He's going to get even more looks at that. One name you didn't bring up, though, that I think is going to get a job is D'Amico Ryans.
He's on the list.
For the
he was
San
on there.
49ers. So give me either of the Eagles coordinators, give me Kellen Moore, or give me D'Amico Ryans. Those would be my top 4 for Carolina right now.
The Nebraska job, it's Matt Campbell, Iowa State's head coach, the favorite at plus 350. Lance Leopold out in Kansas, what they've done is at plus 500. You got a few other guys in the mix here: Mark Stoops, Luke Fickell, Bill O'Brien, Urban Meyer on the list at plus 1200. We know Cornhusker fans want Urban Meyer, and Matt Rhule just behind him at plus 1500. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. I don't. These are two jobs. Anytime an NFL job's open mid-season, it's considered high profile. And then Nebraska, it's always interesting who we're going to bring in that's going to save that Nebraska program and bring it back to prominence. So very interesting stuff.